Hi, it's Gordon here, fresh from the shop, and got another installment of 2012, A Year with Mya-Moe Unscripted. Today's topic, or this week's topic, is going to be machine tuners, or different types of tuners that you can put on your Mya-Moe ukulele. We always use geared tuners. I think that kind of the old and really inexpensive friction tuners are just really hard to use. Often won't keep the instrument in tune, and unfortunately they're found on a lot of beginner instruments, and it's beginners that really need the best experience. So we always use the highest quality tuners available, and there are on our smaller instruments, the soprano, super soprano, and concert, what we put on are the Peghead tuners. And this is soprano with the Peghead tuners. You can see that they look like traditional ebony friction pegs, but in fact they are very high-tech. They are geared with some planetary gears inside. Here's what one of them looks like before it's been put in. You can see the threads that go into the headstock. They have a 4-to-1 gear ratio. We've put in hundreds of these and never had any fail. So in fact, we've never had a tuner fail of any type. So we love them. On the larger body instruments, we have a couple of options. Our standard is the machine tuners, like you see here, like on a guitar. The pegs stick out the side of the headstock, and this is what they look like before they're put in. So these are less expensive than the Pegheds, and they're heavier than the Pegheds. So that's why we don't use them on the smaller body instruments. But when you get up to a tenor and larger, the overall weight of the instrument is such that it can sustain the weight of those heavier tuners. Now there is another option on the large bodies, and that's a slotted headstock, as you can see here, and that has on it, that has some Schertler tuners, which is our standard. They're wonderful tuners out of Switzerland. I just love the feel of these tuners. Now, some people like the looks of the slotted headstock and some don't, and the aesthetics are one reason why you might decide for the slotted. There is an acoustic difference as well, although it is very, very hard to perceive. But as you can see, with this is what we call the break angle. So you've got the strings coming down the fretboard and then angling over the nut. And because those springs dive into these slots, the angle that the strings come over the nut is higher than with the machine tuners or the Peghead. As a result, you're getting more downward force on the nut into the neck. And that means a better transfer of energy, more sustain, less absorption of the string energy by the body of the instrument, and less transference of the string energy from the vibrating part to this little part back here. So that's why the slotted headstock, people believe, has slightly better acoustics. And it's about the same weight, by the way, as the machine tuners. It's a bigger headstock a little bit, but you're losing the weight from these slots. Now lastly, I just wanted to compare the machine tuners to the Pegheds. Here's 4 machine tuners, and here are 4 Pegheds, and I weighed them earlier. These 4 Pegheds are 7/8 of an ounce. These machine tuners are 3 3/8 ounces, so almost 4 times heavier for the machine tuners than for the Pegheds. So when you're looking at our concert, which weighs in at under a pound, it weighs in at about 15 ounces, and the soprano's at 13 ounces, adding another 2.5 ounces of tuner would just throw the balance off, and that's why we don't put them on the smaller body, even though these Pegheads are much, much more expensive for us to buy, but we just didn't like the playability and the effect it had on the feel of the instrument when we put on the machine tuners. As I said, you get up to the tenor, it weighs a little more. It can take the weight. I think if you've got a pickup on the tenor and you've got that weight down at the tail end of the instrument, it's balanced by the machine tuners, and that's fine. Personally, if I were to own an instrument, a tenor, without a pickup, so it's going to be a little lighter and less weight down there at the tail where the jack is, I would pay for the upgrade and put in these peg heads. So anyway, I hope that helps on tuner selection, and please tune in next week. Thanks.